Making a Lutterloh system pattern today. If you're unfamiliar with Lutterloh, the basics are their special measuring tape, their push pins. You'll need a bit of cork board to make a pattern. Today's pattern is this shirt. I'm not making the jumpsuit, just the shirt. I've been inspired by Princess Diana and the crown and her fashion style and the high-necked shirts that she used to wear. So I'll be using these pattern pieces. You put a push pin in the center and you take your bust measurement for anything that's above the waist and you line it up. Eventually you will get a pattern piece like this. This is the progress I've made so far on my sleeve pattern. A really great tip that they said on the Lutterloh YouTube channel is if you have these special rulers for tailoring clothes and tailoring pattern drafting rulers, basically, is you really only need to connect 3 dots at a time. So there's 1, 2, 3, and that's all I do. You just kind of got to move it around until you get them all lined up, then draw your line, and then just work on the next 3 dots and so on and so forth. Another thing you really want to do to save your sanity, because I've accidentally forgotten this step before, is work on your seam allowance lines, because I've done a whole pattern, like pattern drafted everything, cut it out and didn't put the seam allowance in. That was frustrating. And so if you have one of these tools, I don't know how everyone else does it, but this is basically what I do is I line it up like that. It's my 3/8 seam allowance, make a line, and then I get my long ruler and line up all those little lines, and then just make another line. I try to use a different colored marker just so I know that's the seam allowance line, and then just make your big long line. And so I at least make one, so I know I have a visual marker of like, oh, that's something I have to do before I forget and get really mad at myself. And so just remember your seam allowance lines. It'll save your sanity a bit. This is the mock-up piece I've made with the pattern I created. So this is the sleeve. I wasn't sure how I wanted to gather the bottom of the sleeve to get this desired look. I went on YouTube and found a few different gathering techniques. And one was where they basically made a channel underneath and they pulled the elastic through and fastened the elastic at the bottom. And I really like that technique. It's what I used. It's really comfortable. It's giving me the desired look. So I think I'm going to stick with that technique. As you can see, my sleeve is too short for me, for what I want. So I will be lengthening it by a few inches just for my own preference. The whole point of making the mock-up was just to see if I needed to make any adjustments, which I have. And for the collar here, I didn't use elastic. I gathered this little collar piece and attached it to a gathered collar on the bottom. And it is giving me the desired look. It's flaring out because I haven't fastened the back, but that's fine. It's just a mock-up. But it's really uncomfortable. So I don't know if I'm going to keep this technique or try to do something different. I'm still on the fence with that one, but that's the whole point of doing a mock-up, which I don't usually do, but now I'm using Lutterloh patterns, I can see myself doing them more and more just to make sure the garment is going to be exactly what I want it to look like. So this is my mock-up. Got the tops of the sleeves sewn, and now I'm going to cut out my sleeve pattern and gather the sleeve to fit the armhole. Working on the sleeve piece now. In order to get the sleeve to fit the shirt pattern that I chose, I have to gather a bit at the top. And it also just gives a little pizzazz, which I really like. I really like a gathered sleeve on the top. Gives it a little style. So that's sleeve number 1. So for the bottom of the sleeve, to gather it, I chose to do it with elastic, just like the mock-up I did. But this time, instead of sewing the channel and then pulling the elastic through, I chose to just cut a really large piece of elastic and sew on either side and then measure and sew the elastic together in the end after I've already attached the sleeve to the shirt. So that's what I'm going to try to do. hopefully it'll work. So people have different preferences on how to sew sleeves on. My preference is just to sew the top of the shirt together, the top and the bottom, or back and front, and then do one line to sew the sleeve on, and then when I sew the back and the front together, go ahead and sew the sleeve together that way, and that's when I'll connect the elastic to have that nice cinched look at the bottom of the sleeve. Next up, I'm going to cut out the collar piece. So I'm going to cut this piece of fabric out, then gather it to the comfortable measurement for my neck, and also gather the collar of the shirt and sew those two pieces together. Let's finish the collar of the shirt, and instead of sewing individual pieces, gathering the collar and then gathering the shirt itself, I decided to do a channel, and pulling elastic through and gathering it that way. I'm using a jersey knit. It needs more structure. When I gathered them individually, it was very floppy. It wasn't staying up. It wasn't the style or the structure that I had wanted, and this very much is. Just like the sleeves, I sewed a channel and pulled elastic through. I'm very happy with that decision. It's much more comfortable than the mock-up I made. So if you're in a jersey knit, I would definitely suggest going with the channel route and elastic instead of just gathering the collar piece and the top of the shirt individually. Now, if you're using cotton, I think that would work very well. Although with the mock-up I made, it just wasn't super comfortable. So maybe try this. I don't know. Also, I'm super happy with the sleeves, and I'll do a big reveal right now. This is the shirt. I am in love with the sleeves. They have a little bit of puff on the top, a little bit of drama, and the fit of the shirt. It's very comfortable. Love the neck. This is by far my favorite part of the shirt. I love high neck shirts. Very Princess Diana vibes, which is what I was going for.